Hello again, Damien back. Just want to talk about some more reasons maybe you're reluctant to start go to therapy, and some of them might be concerns which are really valid concerns around confidentiality. So every therapist is bound by confidentiality. We can't discuss our clients outside of the therapy room, so you're 100% protected with that. Also, when if they do take notes, not obliged legally to take notes, but some do. I do. I certainly take just a line as a prompt for myself to say we talked about this, or maybe something else needs to come up, and that's just my thing. But like, we're not obliged to do it. But if we do take notes, those notes are always very well protected, and mine's double encrypted and hidden away, and I'm the only person with the access to that. Um, so confidentiality then, when it comes to if the therapist ever has to speak about a client, they with the supervisor, the client is never first of all, the supervisor doesn't know who they are, and then they're never really told. They might say, this is something presented to me in therapy today, how do I deal with it, or whatever. And the supervisor is the more senior therapist, more experienced, and they be guiding them in that. But you're never, your confidentiality is never breached. A concern might arise around confidentiality, as I said in an earlier video, where you've mentioned to an employer, I'm just not feeling right, I need to get support, and the employer then sends you on. That could be a very significant concern around employment. And I do, as I said earlier on, I do believe they need to protect employees more around this. They need to be able to say that there actually needs to probably be some kind of a discipline for a manager or supervisor, however, who then goes on and discloses that a particular staff member has gone on to do therapy. Now, if the staff member says it, that's no one's business. That's up to them. They can do what they want. But I don't feel it's fair for a manager or an employer to use that as a weapon to bully or harass an employee, and that's happening. Like, it's happening in all kinds of jobs. Also, another thing that may prevent you from going for therapy, whether it's short-term therapy or whether you're talking about engaging in long-term therapy, it would be the prospect of it being emotionally uncomfortable. That's a very valid kind of thing to be afraid of. But the fact is that if you're going to go to therapy and you really want to change, you want to grow, and you want to work on the thing that you want to go to therapy, it's in your interest to embrace the fact that it is going to be uncomfortable at times, because if you think about it, you're living in this place now at the moment where everything is really bad. Potentially you're feeling really miserable, really upset, really sad, really low mood, don't know how to get yourself out of it. But the other side is you go to a therapist, and you will, they'll support you through it, but you can feel very uncomfortable at times, and in those times then the therapist can support you with this. You're not on your own with this, so it's not like you're going through this on your own. There's always going to be someone there to support you, and you know when you go through this discomfort, you change. Something in you changes, and you will grow, and you will move past whatever. No, you're not going to go in one session and go, I felt terrible today, so I have to be ready. I'm done. I'm healed. That's not the way it works. It's a slow enough process because it took a long time for us to get to this position, this place in our lives. So it's going to take a little. It's not going to take as long, but it's going to take a good bit of time once we're invested in therapy and we're willing to do the work. And it's an hour a week, although that hour sometimes can feel a long time, because when we're doing really good work, time becomes a factor. It's not an hour. It's for the person going through the stuff, it can feel a lot longer. And then there's times where I've had people say, was that an hour already? Like, so it just depends on what you're bringing and how you're working with your stuff. But emotional discomfort is the thing that we need to expect, and it's unfair to say to you that, oh no, you'll go to therapy and it'll be lovely and everything will be great and we're singing and dancing. No, you sing and dance in my room. I do have the crack, and I enjoy therapy, and the people that work with me enjoy the therapy too. So it depends on your therapist. We'll make it as enjoyable and as comfortable as you can, but there is going to be emotional comfort, because in that discomfort is the growth, is the place where you have actually signed up for and what you're paying for. You want to improve, you want to change. That's it. So the emotional discomfort is a thing. You're also going to probably struggle with trust. Do I trust this therapist? And that's a very valid, very very valid thing. So if you're in a situation and you're really uncomfortable as a therapist, trust me, the therapist is feeling the same thing. They might not tell you, but they're feeling as uncomfortable as you. If you're in the room and you're uncomfortable and you're overtly uncomfortable and you're not able to speak, the therapist is feeling it too. In that instance, it's okay to say it, to name it, to bring it out and say, I'm feeling really vulnerable, really uncomfortable here. I'm not comfortable about this. Maybe I don't want to come to therapy. I don't know what to do in therapy. I don't know what you're meant to say. I don't know what I'm meant to say. And that's really important because that's actually therapy. A brilliant therapist I spoke to a few years ago had a beautiful line, and she said, whatever gets in the way of the work is the work. And that's what's happening here. If you feel you can't trust the therapist, say it. They're not going to kick you out of the room because you feel you don't trust them. If you're feeling really vulnerable, say it. And if that happens to me, which has happened on occasion, people will feel very uncomfortable in the room with me at times, and I'd say, well, how can we work on this? Do you feel you can continue working with me, or would we like to move to get another therapist? And sometimes it has been, we'll get you another therapist. And I said, brilliant, we'll go there. Because it's not about the therapist. I think that's what people forget when they come to therapy. They're coming to therapy and they're going in and say, well, I've signed up with you now, I can't let you down. We need to get rid of that idea. The therapist actually doesn't matter in this situation. The therapist is there to do their bit, you're there to do the work. So if the work's not happening for you and you're paying the therapist, it's in your interest to start saying, well, how do we support this? How do we move on? Do we need to leave the therapist? It doesn't always happen that you have to leave the therapist, because you can have someone that's really difficult relationship. And I was in a situation as a client where I would go into the therapist and I really didn't like the therapist, and I was really unhappy. And it wasn't until I was able to say what I wasn't happy about, and I really didn't like the way they said this and I didn't like that and whatever. I love it, yeah, yeah, and really got to love that therapist. I thought they were fantastic, because it's my not being able to talk about it that was the burden. And then when I moved into my own stuff in my own life, I'd moved that past that part in my own life, that I was no longer holding stuff in. I was able to say it out. So when you do good therapy, with a good therapist, and you're honest and open, even with your vulnerability and with your fear and with your discomfort, to be able to go into that is huge growth for you, and it's really, really well worth considering. Anyway, I hope that helped. I'm going to come back with a few more tips. Thank you.